Let's start by double-clicking on what a SOAP web service is. SOAP web services are, again, going to allow systems to interact with the web service in a manner prescribed by its WSDL description using the SOAP protocol. That WSDL, or Web Services Description language, is an interface in XML. It's going to be machine processable, which means you could read it as a human, but generally it's meant for machines to ingest and understand how to communicate. And it will define things like operations, arguments, data types, and more. SOAP itself stands for Simple Object Access Protocol, and this is an XML-based protocol. It defines the message architecture and the formats that can be accepted when working with SOAP web services. Now, one thing with SOAP is that because it works off of this WSDL file and this need to marshal in and out of these large XML bodies, it typically requires tooling to publish or consume the APIs. So here in the slide, you can see an example of a SOAP service WSDL. This WSDL file is describing the data types, the methods, the different things that you can interact with inside of this SOAP service. So if you look closely, you can see towards the middle, there's things like find flight response, list all flights, and those are going to tie into various parameters that it can take in, assuming it does take in some type of argument. Now, SOAP messages are typically sent over HTTP, but technically they could be sent over other protocols. A SOAP request is sent as the body of an HTTP post. So those of you more familiar with REST, the idea with SOAP is that body is always going to go over post, and the methods don't necessarily have the same meaning that they would have in a RESTful API. SOAP, again, is based on XML, so the message request and response are XML files, and that structure of the XML is validated against a schema file in XSD. Here's an example of a SOAP web service request and response, and the utility you're looking at here is a picture of SOAP UI. In the left of the screen, you can see that there's a SOAP envelope, and inside of that SOAP envelope, there's a SOAP body where it is effectively calling find flight. Inside of find flight, there's a destination parameter of SFO. If you look towards the top of this slide, you can see that it is going to training-u.cloudhub.io/essentials/data. So we're going to post that body to the address you see in the top of this screenshot. The response coming back is also XML, which is what you can see on the right side of the screen. Once again, a SOAP envelope wrapping a body with a find flight response element inside of it. And then there are multiple returns inside of here containing different flight information going out to SFO. And some examples of web service operations. Since SOAP oftentimes binds itself to some type of application, you're usually exposing some method or interface inside of your application. So things like get companies, list companies, get companies by country, get one company. You can see that they're very method oriented. The action is in the name of the operation you're calling.